Conversations with book authors, and I'll come up on stage here. So good morning. So hopefully everyone has their coffee. It's always our 9:30 vodcast. We're live streaming on YouTube and Facebook and LinkedIn. And today, let me take a quick sip here. And today it's very unique for a few reasons. One unexpected that just happened about 15 minutes ago, but one of them that was already planned is we are part of a podcast-a-thon. And you know what? I did not upload the graphic. I should have done that. But podcast-a-thon, which starts, it's 7 days. It starts today. And there are over nearly 3,000 podcasts that are part of it. And our podcast, Now Conversations, is part of it. So we will, I want to just check the live here. We will submit our podcast, and then it gets to sail around the world, so to speak. So podcast-a-thon is real, and I'm excited. This is the first year that we're a part of it. We've been asked to join it. So, all right. So this show talks about everything having to do with writing, everything having to do with editing, everything having to do with publishing, and it's conversations with book authors. So I bring on all different types of book authors from different genres. When I say types, fiction, nonfiction, memoirs, cookbooks, coloring books, children's books, brand books, textbooks, you name it. And we talk about everything having to do with book publishing. So let me open the comments because I'm also open to taking comments. So hang on. Please let us know if you have questions. And we've been doing many segments from Now Conversations for quite a bit, quite a long time. And this is going to be a very unique one because 15 minutes ago, we found out that our guest got called to take a phone call that he absolutely cannot not be on. Not going to divulge private information, but my response instantly was, when I saw the text come in, was, oh my goodness, absolutely, don't worry about it. So, and it is difficult, or actually you can't necessarily cancel some of the live streams when it's so close to live date. And so as I was thinking about it, I thought, first of all, my inclination was, why don't I just interview myself, because I happen to be publishing and I'm part of a book event for my 7th book called Tell Them of My Greatness. And I thought, why don't I just ask myself the questions? Never done that before, but I am an experienced writer now, not just a book publisher. But then I thought about it a little bit more, and I thought, let me just share with you what we have going on in our publishing house right now, because we have, and I just thought we'd talk about maybe 2 of our books. We have 2 very interesting and different books coming up right now that you will soon start to see releases for. And I thought I'd talk through those a little bit, and then maybe answer a few questions and see if there are any questions that people have. And then everyone have their happy Saturday. So hopefully everyone's got their caffeine, and let's dig in. All right. So one of the upcoming books we are going to be releasing is called Never Shaken, and it's the journey through the Peru earthquake. And this is actually from an author that we will have back on Now Conversations. Her name is Christina Matta. And you might recognize that author. You should, because she is a best-selling author, and this will make her 6th book. And we're going to actually modify this book cover just as a matter of reference here. We're going to modify her book cover, and we're going to put a banner on it. You might have seen that where they put, and I hope you can see my mouse, but you might have seen books. And we actually did publish one. I should have grabbed it. That was similar, where we had a banner here, and on the banner is where we're going to change the tag under her byline to say 6-time selling author. On the one that we did, it was Wisdom Before Me. This is a few years back. We happened to win a New York Times in Times Square, a banner of our book cover. So it was pretty cool. And so we, promoted that. So this book, though, just to dig into it, will be out in the next quarter for sure, in the next 3 months. And it is the first nonfiction book that this author has written. And this is her account. I want to think, I might be wrong, 9 years or so, when she actually was in Peru and lived through this 8-point something earthquake. And it's really stunning. Most of us haven't even been in an earthquake, first of all, and then to be in an earthquake, in that time frame, which is a distant memory for some of us, and then also to be in an international country, in a different country than the U.S. Very compelling. She's an amazing writer. But what is unique about this book, and then we'll go to the next one that you might like, is that she, because this is her first nonfiction, she has a 4-series fiction book called Crack the Case Books. She has another book called Tremors that is fiction. So with this being her first nonfiction, she actually went from Tampa, Florida area to Alaska as she is in her writing process. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that because I thought we might talk about writing processes for those of you that are either on that train in the middle of in the midst of writing or want to start writing. I thought we would talk about that at the end. But take a look out for this book, Never Shaken. It's really going to be one of our bestsellers, and that's one of our new releases. And then I thought I would bring another new release. Now, of course, we've got more than these two, but it just happened to be that these are top of mind right now. And I thought I would grab them as I was wondering what we might want to talk about for this live stream. So this is also a very unique book. So it's called Transcending. And I should probably, I don't know if I can even see it with my glasses. Sorry. This is by Roberto, not his name. I know his name. His name is Roberto Fernandez de Cordova. What I was going to read was the subtitle. And actually what I'd like to read is I would like to read the blurb about it, because I think when I tell you about this book, you're going to see how you're going to understand why I say it's very unique. So here's the blurb. The blurb for Transcending says, what if the greatest obstacles to peace, happiness, and a meaningful life are not outside of us, but within us? In Transcending, Roberto Fernandez de Cordova takes readers on a profound journey into the hidden roots of human suffering, conflict, and self-destruction. Blending spiritual insight, philosophical reflection, and practical wisdom, this thought-provoking book explores the forces that shape our thoughts, behaviors, societies, and ultimately our destiny. Through reflections of education, forgiveness, humility, happiness, and conscious living, Transcending invites readers to question long-held assumptions about success, identity, and purpose. It challenges us to see our world and ourselves through a new lens of awareness. It's more than a book about personal growth. It's a call to awaken, a call to heal the divisions within ourselves and within society, and a call to rediscover the spiritual truth that leads to lasting peace. This book is for readers seeking deeper meaning, spiritual clarity, and a transformation perspective on life. Transcending offers a timeless guide to moving beyond the ego and finding the presence of God within. So, I did not read the entire blurb, but as you can tell, this is a very unique and very insightful book, to say the least. And Roberto was a professor, highly educated, highly esteemed, and very well-loved professor at St. Petersburg College for many years, amongst many academic and cultural awards. And so this book will release on the 17th of April in Tarpon Springs. And I will throw the link out for that in this chat in just a moment. But last year, in about a few weeks from now, he did pass away. So the family, we've been working with the family to bring this book that he actually wrote 10 years ago and put it together and gave it the finished manuscript as a present to his lovely mother, Cecilia, who will be at the release. So it's been an amazing experience reading his insightful book, and I know that you'll be astounded and inspired by it as well. So those are two of our upcoming book releases for CEO Book Publishing. We have so much going on. We picked up a new author. He's a former boxer going into the Hall of Fame. You'll start to see posts about that. We've got a new book, and actually we have a book we call our own book projects called The Faith Effect, where it's 15 authors, co-authors, writing their amazing life happening that was affected by faith, without a doubt. So that book is already well on its way, and we've been having what we call the editorial one-on-one meetings. And what I've seen so far, just very excited about this book. And this book will come out also within the next 3 months, if not sooner. And then we also have on deck, I'll say, a book called 20 Voices, a real business truths from entrepreneurs who built it. And so this obviously is 20 co-authors. And as mentioned, rock star people with all different backgrounds, just sharing that wisdom that they've lived through, not just MBAs or, amazing entrepreneurs with credentials like you wouldn't believe, but really it's, here are these, real business lessons that I lived through. I'm now on the other end of it that I can share with you. So 20 Voices is coming out. That one is just actually beginning this upcoming week. So that's pretty exciting. So just between those, 4 books, just to give you a little bit of what's going on in our publishing house these days, I wanted to share that. But I thought what I would do is, and I want to make sure that I'm looking at the comments here. What I thought I would do is I thought I would ask myself, as I said, without my guest this morning, I'm going to ask myself 2 questions. One of the questions is, what is a lesson? I ask authors, what is a lesson learned through your publishing journey, whether you've published one book or whether you've published multiple books? What would you say is a lessons learned? And what I would say is, through my publishing journey, is a really good lesson is you need to understand when you're done with downloading the content to let the expert come in. And what I mean by the expert, I mean your expert editorial team. 3 levels of editing: content developmental, copy edit, and format editing. All 3 different disciplines, but there is a point where you need to be satisfied enough to just say, okay, I have now downloaded all my content. Let an expert edit it. And I struggled with that, especially on my first book for a while, where I said, oh, that's not exactly what I wanted to say, or I can't forget to add this case study, or I don't like how that looked, or maybe I'm writing the wrong thing. It's, for a first-time author, it is very difficult to know what you're doing because you don't. Right? It's a brand new endeavor. For instance, many of you might know that I'm going to be giving a TEDx in about 13 days from now, 14 days from now. And that's a completely new endeavor, unlike anything I've ever experienced. I don't know what I don't know. And I'm not sure how to get where I need to get. I'm doing my best, but I'll tell you what I'm doing right about it, which is what I recommend you do as an author. What I'm doing right is I've hired experts, right? And I know experts, and I'm asking for feedback and criticism and help. So that's really the lessons learned in writing. And writing your first book, you learn that there is a time where you say, okay, here is my authentic manuscript with my content, with what I know. I'm writing about what I know and what I've lived and what I've done. Please, editor, help me out here. And the best editor is just like gold. The best editor you can have is an editor with a strong writing background that knows how to write, and an editor with a strong editorial background. Those 2 skills together is gold. And I'm very fortunate that we have, and I'll just be honest, I have like two strong editors on our team. But that would be my lessons learned. And I am going to answer one other question. And let's see. well, there was two. Let me answer this question, because I was going to ask my guest this morning, what is his writing process? So my guest had 4 books that he had written, and I wanted to know, has he changed his writing process from book 1 to book 3 to book 4? And as I am interviewing myself this morning, given what I just shared at the top of the stream, between book 1 and book 7, and in fact, it's fun. I'm going to go ahead and I just threw up a few of the books. So this book, Never Drink Coffee During a Business Meeting, was my entree into publishing. And when I published this book, it was with a different publisher. I wasn't even a publishing house myself. I hadn't even met my partner as we started this company 10 years ago. And this book, though, when I looked at the copyright just the other day, I went into the copyright page, and although I started it more than 10 years ago, it actually released 10 years ago this year. So 10 years old. In this book, my process of writing did not look at all like this book, which is my latest book, my 7-time book, and you might not be able to see it too well on screen, but it's "Tell Them of My Greatness: God in the C-suite." I was going to say G suite, in the God suite, maybe that as well. How divine influence drives success. And what's interesting about both of them, I would say, or what's similar, I should say, is that they're both business books. Never Drink Coffee During a Business Meeting, Life in the Trenches from a Top Female CEO is the tagline there. This is a book that I wrote based on my time as a tech CEO in the Pacific Northwest. And I had that company, brought it to market in year 16. It was, in this book, it was everything I could not put in my human resource manager, in my employee handbook is what we called it. And then as we moved to my latest book, my 7th book, Tell Them of My Greatness, this is also a business book. And this is a faith professional business book where I take in each chapter a story from the Old Testament that I learned, and then I apply it to a corporate scenario, and then also a professional scenario. So I got off a little track there, but we were talking about what my writing process was. And I will tell you, very different from my first one to my 7th one, based, of course, on my experience. And what I definitely learned on book 7 in my writing process is really sort of what I just talked about, in terms of when my chapter is done, for the initial draft of my content, I would let it lie. I would say, okay, this is what basically the structure of what I want to say. This is all the content that I want to share, and then give it to the editing team to help that. The first book, finished the whole thing at once to get it to first draft, and then went to editing. With the 7th book, I would work on it with my author or with my editor, chapter by chapter. And in fact, that's how we work on all of our books in our company. Our authors come to the table and they work chapter by chapter with the editor. Some people sell this as an author coaching. It's just part of what we do. But there is, some coaching, some writing coaching, some skill set learning that is passed down. So that's really what has changed in my writing process. I will tell you, though, that what's the same is something that we called from day one. It's called BIC, and that means butt in chair, and BUTT, butt in chair. And that means that as I wrote this last book and put it together, I had to put in my calendar the times that I blocked out for my time to write. And I forced myself to adhere to it, in terms of, if I didn't even feel like writing, if I just did not feel inspired, I would still work on some aspect of my book during that time. That was something I learned from my first book, and it's something that we carry over to our clients. And it's just, that discipline of making sure that you have, the right plan to get you to where you want to get. And let me show you one other book. I found this as I was looking through my different book covers before the stream. So this is a very fun book that I wrote years ago when I had middle schoolers. Maybe they were 5th, 6th, 7th grades. And this was My Calendars Written in Crayons. And it was part of a series that we still have. It's called What Matters Most of All: Smart Advice from Working Single Moms. So there was 3 single moms in this book, and I was one of them. And what we did is we featured a single mom that had littles. And then I was the single mom that my two daughters, which are now in college. At the time, they were in those grades I just mentioned. And then the third author, I think she was she became an empty nester with one of hers, and she maybe had only one that was going to be graduating. So it was a super fun book that I wrote years ago, but was part of the 7 books that I've written. So I appreciate all of you that are watching. And as mentioned, about 15 minutes before we went live today to be part of Podcast-a-thon, my guest author had something come up. So I thought I'd just get on and tell you what we're doing as a publishing house, and tell you about a couple books that are releasing. And just as always, please reach out. My name is Lisa Marie Garcia. You can Google me. Of course, I have my domain. Everyone does, right? And if you don't, you should. LisaMarieGarcia.com. If you'd like to be a part of anything we're doing, we produce podcasts. We have a new podcast coming up. I don't know if let me add that to stage. We are interviewing for a new podcast. Actually, we start Monday, not this Monday, spring break, but the following. This is a podcast that I'm co-hosting with the fabulous Mina Carlson out of Arizona, and it's called the Faith Effect Podcast, where faith fuels strategy. We're looking for Christian professionals that want to share their story. So that is coming soon, and will be part of a third podcast that I'm personally part of hosting. But we also produce a beautiful podcast that we produced yesterday called Griefwise, and that's with the incredible host Shanna Brown. But we're very active in community and philanthropic activities, as well as working with a variety of authors, both nationally and internationally. So if you'd like to be a part of our group and our team, and you know that you have a story to publish, this is what I always say: don't wait until tomorrow. Do what's on your heart. Write your story. Do what people have been telling you to do. Share your story. And you have a friend in the publishing business, that's Lisa Marie Garcia, and I will help you in any way. And you don't have to be a client for us to help you. We're 10 years old this September. So we've published a few books. We've learned a few things, and our mission statement is to publish the voice of purpose. And so let us help you. All right. Happy Saturday. Thanks for joining Now Conversations.